Previously, we briefly talked about the factions that were formed after the event of the third explosion, those who represented the good and the evil. But the world of Death Stranding is one that is governed by subjective morality, one where there's truly no good or evil, no true morality. It is based on the thoughts of each individuals, their interactions and their connections with each other. Whereas some, with the desires of being left alone to act on their own moral code, are seen as the bad guys, or others, bound by their guilt, respect, or their duty toward their fellow man, are seen as the good guys, and wish to improve the world, well, to be more precise, rebuild it. In the world that we live in, however, things appear to be more subjective, where we have come to recognize that different cultures often have different agreed upon norms, just as they have different strengths and weaknesses, as there's nothing objectively more sensible as shaking hands as a greeting instead of cheek kisses or bowing. All of that to say that the world that we live in today is not so simple, not so black and white, but consists of multiple shaded lines of grey that blur into each other, and those who walk these blurred lines would in fact be the most human. Cliff is one of these people, one that we until the latest Death Stranding trailer mostly thought to be the main antagonist of the game, but this is not the case. Well, at least not according to what his voice actor Mads Mikkelsen told the crowd at the Saudi Arabian Comic-Con. No, I am not a villain. I am a character in there that you can kind of decide what he is, but he's not a villain. We therefore have a picture of how this character operates. Cliff is more than just the head of a group of skeletal soldiers dressed like paratroopers from the Second World War. He could, in another life, have been a scientist that without a doubt took part in the creation of the breech babies. But now that I've mentioned the subject, let's take a closer look. So far in the story, the Bridges organization are the sole proprietaries of the BB technology. Unlike their not-so-friendly competitors and the mules in yellow, who use outdated tech, Bridges created a tool to see what peered from the other side. By infusing prematured babies with ethereal BTs, they created a medium that could interact with both sides. Mama, a Bridges scientist, oversaw the process and carried the babies to term. However, there still lingered one question. How do you connect the babies to the individual that actually uses them? It is in the stuff of folklore that the answer to this question can be found, as every culture all around the world will have their own interpretation of the connections between a parent and a child. But it is in the Japanese and Danish culture that there is a prevalent mention of the connection between a mother and a child through the umbilical cord, where in the Danish culture this one is put in a negative light, as psychoanalyst Sigmund Freud will tell you in his analysis of all folk tales, where this organ is regarded as being a hindrance, especially for a male child to reach maturity, keeping him bound to the mother, things of puberty. On the other hand though, the Japanese do view it as a sign of love, where the organ itself tends to be kept around after being severed. The reason why I mention this is that the umbilical cord, as you know, is attached to the mother's womb, to the placenta, wherefrom the child feeds on what his mother eats, which is not truly something that men can create, but this is 2019, so who knows.
Excuse me, it's ma'am. It is ma'am.
Okay, joking aside, however, the second thing would be that in each and every one of the Death Stranding trailers, no female characters has been seen actually carrying a BB pod. This is not to say that Kojima is pulling a mother on us, a world where women no longer can bear children. Perhaps this is just him hinting at some Silent Hill vibes being included into the game. Just a fun little thought to keep in mind when we will be talking about these three. But back to the men. An artificial umbilical cord was crafted for them to work in a reversed manner, meaning that the BB users will feed on the child. Well, not in a typical sense of the word. The person in question would receive information from the baby, such as the proximity of the BTs, how dangerous the threat level it would be, and much more. These information would then be translated by a shoulder-mounted drone arm. The whole mechanism will then work as we have seen in so many gameplay footage. So, with that in mind, it is fair to assume that Cliff, as we've also seen him in the latest trailer, as he truly did care for that one particular breach baby that even gives him a heart-shaped bubble, Kojima, was one of the scientists who took part in, or even better, created the umbilical cord technology, giving him a special connection to the breach baby. But all of this still paints Cliff in a good picture. So, the question that begs to be asked, what turned this man into an agent of war? This is where I like to remind you that Hideo Kojima loves movies a lot, and he wanted himself to be a movie director in the past but ended up making video games. But with a character like Cliff, he truly gets the chance of showing us his cinematic genius, as he can truly push the boundaries, well, narratively wise, and compared to his other works, by not focusing too much on great gameplay, but peering more into the dark places of this character's soul. Or like movie critic and once video game hater Roger Ebert would like to say, it is not about war so much as about how war reveals truth we would be happy never to discover. So Kojima likes movies, and so do I, but how does it connect to Cliff? Well, let's draw a parallel to a movie called Apocalypse Now, which also shares thematic connections to At the Heart of Darkness. Both focuses on men who, exposed to the horrors of war, stray from their noble ideologies to much darker ones. For example, in the case of Captain Kurtz in Apocalypse Now, whose philosophy turns against him, he realizes that war may be fought over ideologies, but ultimately war is decided not by the strength of an ideology but by the brute force of those involved, and that to be successful in war, one must abandon moral judgment and embrace the emphasis instinct to kill without mercy.
I love the smell of napalm in the morning.
Now, this is an instinct that is within all of us, but most of us have not been forced into situations where this instinct must surface. Yet Cliff has. Maybe it was the loss of a loved one, the event of the Death Stranding, maybe another great war that erupted right after. Regardless of the causes, he, like many others, got bound to Hades. By clinging to his connection to the other side, being our world, he became that realm's guardian, its guard dog. Or should I say, god. Like Ares, the god of war. This would make Hades, the one who governs the dead, Hades, and Sam, the man cursed to carry the weight of the world on his shoulders, Atlas. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, there is Greek mythology involved, maybe. Beside the morality and ideology shift, there is more that links Apocalypse Now to Cliff. There's of course these scenes that are almost pulled from the movie itself. But most notably are the 4 skeletal soldiers that, much like Ares' dog, follow his every command without any question. They are to me very similar to Kurtz's troops in Apocalypse Now, as they follow his every commands through their endeavors in Vietnam. So, to summarize, Cliff was once a brilliant scientist, who alongside Mama and other scientists worked on the development or creation of the original breach baby. This, if the theory is correct, could have taken place either before or after the third explosion. Either way, he would have had enough time to create a strong bond with this baby. going as far as to promise him to explore the entire world and even the moon. However, some event happened that severed his connection to the baby and got him bound to Hades. Now bound to the underworld or limbo, Cliff does his best to find his way back. Over time, his stay in Hades starts eating away his humanity, and in his search for a way out, he starts resorting in atrocities. Maybe going as far as to striking a deal with the one person who knows the true meaning of the Death Stranding.
Oh, it's so hard to form connections when you can't shake hands.
Becoming Hades' very own guardian. With his newfound powers, he not only guards Hades, but remains in the search of a tool that may allow him to find a way back. A tool that not only allows one to peer into both sides, but might also be a way back to the world of the living. What's even more interesting is that the more we know about Cliff, the more footage from before this latest trailer make more sense. Notably, there's the fake baby or marionette, doll, whatever have you, that keeps popping off in different trailers. He's seen here in the latest one in someone's esophagus, but also in the Guillermo del Toro trailer. It is always in the proximity of Cliff, which might be a hint to him trying to create an artificial bridge baby when trapped in Hades. This relationship or connection to a child is definitely weird and not healthy, but let's just roll with what Kojima has given us. And also there's the scar on his stomach that has been shown prevalent in this latest trailer, very similar to what Sam's character had in the first one. Lastly, there's the 4 skeleton soldiers that follow him around everywhere. Now, I would have drawn some similarities here to the Greek mythology and the dogs of Ares, but that would not make very much sense. The only thing that I can relate this to are the 5 monolithic figures that we see in the first Death Stranding trailer. Because if you remember, at that time, Sam was holding a baby that willingly left him and was carried away by one of these monolithic figures, the one standing in the center. Now, comparing that to the positioning that we see Cliff having with his soldiers, it is fair enough to assume that it is him, in fact, holding the baby. Because as I stated in the beginning, I believe that he is the most human of the characters. Going through the same thing that Sam went through, the loss of somebody he loved, serving quote-unquote the dark side when dragged down to Hades, and possibly as a scientist, ironically enough, evolving from human, demi-human to then, well, a BT. But again, guys, this is just a theory. I'm having a lot of fun writing these, and I do apologize that this one was later than I expected, because I had myself an unexpected travel to Africa, which was great, but I also needed some time off. But from now on, Death Stranding videos are going to come out on a weekly basis. So thanks a lot for your support, thanks a lot for watching these videos. If you have any recommendation whatsoever, some tips that you have noticed yourself, like commenter Robert Xerxes, who is a goddamn hero. The amount of time that you spent on writing that single comment was awesome. Thanks a lot. But with that said, guys, I wish you a wonderful day and I see you guys next time.
I'll show you the real thing soon. I promise. The whole wide world will be yours to explore. You'll be able to go wherever you want. Even the moon.